Hello and welcome to Stoughton Politics with this guy. My name is Noah Beta Haron. I am your host, and I have with me today Mike Hardman, who is on all of the things.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to say just everything.
Yeah.
It's we'll be on this side of the table, though, not necessarily introducing yourself.
And earlier this very day, we taped a different interview where you interviewed thee. So you are also a producer on this very channel.
The Stoughton Writers Group. I was the right and you were left then.
Yeah.
So
You know, just so that people won't think that we always stick to the right or the left. Actually, why don't we start out with your background in journalism and how you had started TV production and stuff like that?
I started when I was 19. I was lucky. I got a job at a daily newspaper as a sports correspondent, and then I became sports information director, assistant sports director at my college, and I did radio and TV. And I've gone a lot. I've reached all my goals I really wanted to be. I wanted to work at the Boston Globe, worked at the Boston Globe. I did NESN and wanted to do NESN. You know, things that I wanted to do that I still have to do. I worked for, I think it's 50 publications I'm published in, something like that.
That's amazing.
Some more than that now, but I worked at AOL Patch in New York City, and so I got that dream done too. You know, all the stuff that I wanted to do, I got done in my career. And most of it centered around Stoughton. I came here when I was 22 years old as a news correspondent for the old Stoughton Chronicle, and that was a lot of fun because some of the issues are still going now. Like, sit there watching. We're back and forth on fluoride in the lawn. So we've both been here that long. So then I was one of the sports editor of the Stoughton Journal too, and the Stoughton Chronicle. And then I was also the founding editor for Patch Regional Editor here, which includes building the Stoughton Patch, and Jeff Pickett took it over and did a great job. So, you know, that's what I've been mostly something around Stoughton lately.
Yeah. And
now I'm still a writer and I do a lot of different things.
So was your stint in New York City?
It was just I worked for their company, but here going back and forth.
Okay,
so a couple of times you go there and stuff like that. But I remember walking out the door thinking a kid from East Bridgewater, Massachusetts, looking at the buildings in New York. It was kind of a lofty experience.
Yeah. So you've been based in Stoughton pretty much all...
Mostly, yeah. I've lived where my wife been here 23 years, so that's it. But I always worked in Stoughton. Most of that, I'd go away for a little bit, but I always came back.
And did you cover mostly sports the whole time, or did you...
news and sports.
News and sports, okay.
Yeah. So I did mostly sports for a while. I did a lot of sports. And I did news, I went back to news. I couldn't decide, so I bounced back and forth.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about sports writing, because, you know, I don't read a lot of sports writing. At some point in high school, I became more interested in the Red Sox than I'd been previously, and I started reading a lot of the articles about games. And I was always like, why is it always the same questions over and over again? And when you get the same answers, you know, come up with something so that we can learn something new. And but that was one subgenre, right? That was just baseball and just in this one little like corner of the world. And I don't have a strong sense of what the sports writing ethos is.
Well, basically the problem with the sports writing thing is you're only allowed to talk to certain people certain days. And that was frustrating for me. That's why I didn't like doing the pro sports. I only did a little bit of it. I really didn't like it because I want to talk to the relief pitcher. And that's why I like minor league baseball and minor league basketball and sports, not hockey. The minor league sports, you could talk to anybody anytime, and you are restricted. So a lot of times in sports writing, when you're interviewing the same people, you get the same answers, the same questions. It becomes repetitive, where you want to get outside the block. And with pro sports writing, it's really changed because you don't have the accessibility that you had before. I mean, the old guys would talk about it. They would call guys at home. Yeah. Never do that now. You don't have the home number.
Yeah.
I look for my old Rolodex. I have Red Sox pictures in my Rolodex. Hey, this is the home number, the cell number. You know, that would never happen today.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. So primarily it's an access issue.
It's an access issue. They control it. That's why you see more into stats, more writing, because people who get populated, but because that can't be controlled.
Right.
That's a fact of it too.
Yeah. And anything where you can look stuff up without having to ask anybody. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's interesting too. It's easier to do that. It's hard to get their time. They become busy.
And what was it like in news journalism? Because I know, you know, certainly for my whole life of paying attention to politics, you know, they feel that if they attack you, the journalist, either they're going to discredit you when you prove bad things about them, or they're going to kind of work the refs and get you to be more favorable to them so that you won't get attacked so much. And was it Was it like that when you were working
Oh, definitely.
on the news side?
Yeah, definitely. When we first got married, my wife she was in the business, but she was a copyist, so she was away from the reporting part of it. And somebody got mad at me really bad. They were writing bad things. And she goes, I can't believe they did. You know, it's like going crazy. And I go, don't worry about it. She goes, how do you sleep? I go, that's just their opinion. You know, you just go, because the point is, when you're young, you worry about it a lot and you don't do it. But after a while, you used to, it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
And the sun will rise tomorrow. You know, the sun will set and you'll be okay. You know, one advice I got was really young in my career was, is it true? Because if it's true, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's negative about you and true.
Yeah, but if you're true, what you're writing is true.
But then it's something. Even then, it's good, right? If someone is saying something about you that is mean but also true, then that's an opportunity to look at yourself and say, well, you know, is that something I can improve?
I mean, there's time.
I mean, look, if they say that it's like, you know, your ears look weird, then there's nothing you can do about that. But
I think you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
You know, I used to, when people used to write letters, it's in crayon, don't read it because it's going to be really bad. You know, if it was typed, it's okay. But, you know, I mean, that's what you look at.
What if it's in magazine cutout?
Yeah, no way. It's a hostage tape, no way. No. But I think you get used to that as a while. I mean, it doesn't, you know, one time I was joked about sending out the interns to check the cars, make sure the alarms would go off, you know. But most of the time, it wasn't.
Devaluing your interns.
They're not terrible. But I mean, you look at it that way, and the story's right. I mean, some people, you lose friends over because you want to story about them or something, but you can't worry about that.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell people when I was a news editor, I said, "Are you going to be? If you're in the police, like, don't call me and tell me to take it out because I'm not taking it out." And that's the rule.
Yeah.
You know, and that's difficult. It's difficult when you're a small town journalist that they have that barrier. So there was the different place I've worked, the bigger the place, it was less of that because you weren't connecting with the people.
Right.
But at Stoughton, I see everybody in Stoughton.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
When I was a news editor, it was a small town. I went to the coffee shop and saw people. Even when my daughter was born, they put a sign in the window, baby's born. You know, that was how close and small it was.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, you have a lot of memories about that. But the good thing is you meet a lot of people and collect people. I always joke that some people collect baseball cards, which I do a little bit, but antiques. I collect people.
Yeah.
You know, and they're in my certain categories, and you know, they're people I can go to for help. I always. My phone is always open to help you, and I'll help people any time of day with my experiences that I have and the contacts you have.
Yeah,
you get to me pretty quickly.
You have a new consultancy, yes, that is about helping.
Yeah, helping people.
Helping people in. Is it in journalism or is it in politics or is it
writing? Well, I just help politicians. A lot of media stuff that teaching them beyond the media. So how to use the media to their advantage. I do a little bit of that. Most of it focusing lately on the Stoughton writing group and being an author. That takes 95% of my time. And then 5% of the time is everything else on your list that I do. But it's changing.
That's fun work.
Yeah, it's fun work. And also with the writers group, we're able to help our local authors get exposure and then also create people to read and write. Because if we don't do that, we're going to be in a lot of trouble in a few years if people aren't reading and writing.
Yeah.
Reading books is very important because it exercises your mind.
Absolutely. And so is writing them, right? So is even writing an email is an exercise in your mind that when you you know, phone it in or ask someone or some other entity to do that work for you, you're asking it to stop you from thinking,
right?
And it's
or do the thinking for you,
Mm-hmm. And you know, many people, certainly any people in my life, have someone they can turn to ask them to read what they wrote and give them feedback. And then they're giving you human feedback.
Right.
You know, that is not necessarily what you'll get elsewhere.
And when I was working in Boston for public health and then for disabilities, I would go earlier in the morning, the first train, and there'd be stories that people wanted me to read that they write those going in a newspaper or something else. So I'd be on the train copy editing stories going to work, and I always thought that was the coolest thing to be able to do. You always have people to do that,
right?
And I always have people. I was thinking, like, you have to tell somebody that tells us it's not very good. You have to have that one person in your life. You need really two people in your life. Some person to tell you when you're going crazy and this is a bad idea, and then you have that person who knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
Oh,
yeah, that's the two people.
I mean, it's important to have someone who is just a constant booster.
Yeah.
You know, for many years that like my anything I wrote, my brother would tell everybody about how awesome it was. Yeah. When my first book came out, I bought him a T-shirt with the cover of my book on it because I knew he was going to do a better job than I was saying how amazing
I always try to.
It's nice to have someone in your corner.
Yeah, I always took the opposite in that, like promoting stuff. Like,
Yeah.
my kids grew up in it,
Yeah.
so for them it's not a big deal to see their dad on TV. It's not a big deal to see their dad writing.
Yeah.
And one day my son, I think he was like 6 or 7, he goes to his stepmother, is Daddy famous?
Yeah.
And I started lying. I don't think Daddy's famous at all, but but that's what he thought, because people would come up. And,
I mean, look, your name was in all the papers.
yeah, that's what it is. So,
Your
but
byline.
they would get balloons from coaches and things.
Yeah.
They were treated differently. Why? This is cool, Go, yeah, but don't ever think that you're famous. You're not. Somebody doesn't know who you are and all that.
Yeah. No, it's one of the nice things about people who are book famous and writing famous rather than movie famous is that nobody knows what you look like.
Yeah, actually,
Even if you have your face in the back of your book, nobody pays attention to that. Yeah.
one day as a columnist, I was driving through Honeydew, and Honeydew in East End there was at the time, and the woman looked at me. She looked at me really closely. She said, "Who are you?" She goes, "You look familiar." I told her. She goes, "You don't look anything like the picture in the paper." I go, "Well, what do you expect?"
It's one picture.
One picture, it's just a picture, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I am going to ask you about politics. It's not.
No, sorry.
Unfortunately, it's not Stoughton writers with this guy. It's with that guy. So we're
The other show.
let's get into some of the work you do in town politics, which is extensive. So let me ask you first things first about the Disability Commission.
That's a passion of mine, because my wife is disabled. I'm disabled, but it happened when my wife got disabled, and I started working also with disabilities, people getting jobs, and I saw how difficult it is, and it shouldn't be. And we can do a lot of things. There's a really good board there. We're working really hard at trying to fix little things you fix make a big difference, like streets, making curves, but making it easy for people with accessibility. And we're aging as a population, and this also helps people aging if they don't have mobility issues.
Yeah.
But we really have to look at it.
Sidewalks are also just having them is
it's a major project. Yeah, a major project.
There's a gentleman that I see most days driving to the store in his scooter, where there's no sidewalks. He could cross the street to our side of the street to be on sidewalks for a while, but then he'd have to cross again.
Exactly.
And it's
becomes dangerous.
It's dangerous. Yeah.
We need to be. I think 1/4 of the population in Stoughton would be classified as being disabled, if you look at the loose definitions of disabled. So you got to look at the people there and how you're serving them too, and that's why I like that board.
And the thing about disability is that maybe you're very able-bodied now, but no, unless you plan to die in a car crash or something, you're likely to be disabled at some point in your life.
Exactly.
Whether it's a sports injury or something more chronic, you're gonna be disabled for some period of time, and not caring about how accessible spaces and politics and streets are,
Right.
is also not caring about yourself. It's not caring about your neighbors, but it's also not caring about yourself.
I find that people not caring. I find that people aren't educated about it. More than that, I think once they're educated about it, it says this makes sense. This is a small thing we're doing. This is a good thing to do. Like having people, the effects of people parking in handicap spots. They do. I don't think they realize what they're doing. And if you explain to what they're doing, it makes a big difference. And you explain why you need parking there, why you need this. And making our buildings in town is going to be a major project that's undergoing for being more handicap accessible. And we look at that. That's important to everybody. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
With the disabilities. And we want people to be part of the community. I think sometimes we put people that are different in a certain part of the community, we ignore them, or we don't meet their needs. We're at town meeting and things. We're basically meeting the needs of the town.
Right.
We're spending a lot of money, but we're meeting the needs of the town.
Yeah. Where was the Disability Commission involved in the planning of the new school? Because I know that the South School is
the schools is covered under different Massachusetts guidelines.
Okay.
But it is going to be handicap accessible and very, very, very friendly to that. We can't have kids like we did in the old school using AV TV lifts to get into the classroom.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. You're also on the Charter Review Committee.
Yeah, that reviews the charter of the town and makes suggestions to improving things.
Is that work kind of constant and ongoing? Are we always in a state of perpetually?
I call it my evening of law my pre-law training comes in handy because a lot of it is reading the law of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was at town meeting there was, I'm pretty sure it was the Charter Review Committee that suggested changes to whether it was the bylaws or whatever it was that were very technical and in the weeds. They were like changing an it to a
Exactly.
Belonging to or whatever.
Yeah, it's also updating the he sheet the debate too, updating with the requirements. But it was a lot of going over there's a lot of fine tuned combing, going over everything like that.
Yeah,
it's interesting. A great board to be on.
Have the you bring up he, she, etc. Have the standards for pronoun use
That always changes. I think that was part of it. Changes all the time. Because the thing is,
what if they change too?
Which he should, correct for this time period, changes. But it was really outdated. Some of the things were outdated. We talked about with that.
But I mean, have we changed he/she to there or something?
No, we did that. I mean, I think we did there a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they, as a writer and English buff, right? Use of the singular they dates back easily as far as Shakespeare.
Right.
It's like, it's something we've always had in our language. You'll say, if anyone wants a cookie, let them have it. Right? It's like, who's this them? This anyone.
Right.
Right? But it's always I shouldn't say always because we used to not even write in the Latin alphabet. But it's more or less always been a part of the English language for as long as English has been recognizably similar to what it is today. That if you didn't want to or could not specify a gender, then you would use the singular they.
Right.
And so it's like, it's got this long and storied history, and it makes a lot of sense for people who, for other reasons, don't want to specify male or female because they are specifically something else, or who don't want to specify for the same reasons as before because he/she is not as useful as a nice quick they.
It works really well.
It works very efficiently, and it's a fantastic use of language as far as I'm concerned, right?
It's a lot. That's what that is. But you gotta keep the charter updated too. Things change. We change rapidly.
Yeah. Okay. Municipal regulations sounds like it's something that is very involved and very consequential. Is it?
I don't think it's very involved. It's like it's only like twice a year we meet.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a town meeting. You look at the bills, the articles at town meeting.
Yeah.
That pertain to municipal regulation ruling, and we listen to the person present it.
I see.
If there's a pros and cons or pro.
Okay.
And then we decide that we give our opinions on whether town meeting will pass it or what we have questions about it. So it's good for people to go in front of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people should take that opportunity because if you're going to pass the article, you want to make sure it's clean and people understand it.
Yeah.
And then we vote a recommendation.
Yeah. Town committees tend to be advisory committees, right? They're the ones who have taken on the volunteer responsibility of digging into the weeds on whatever, and then their votes are mostly just to say this is a good idea or this isn't, but it's not really like, does municipal regulations have a veto? Like, let's say somebody comes to you and is like, here's an idea for what we should, how we should change our regulations on, owning motorboats or whatever. Then if the whole committee votes against it, it's still going to appear unless they withdraw the article, right?
Yeah, so you encourage them to withdraw it and clean it up, or meet with the town officials to fix it.
Okay.
Like the noise restrictions.
Yeah,
that was a debate that we had in municipal regulations, and then went back and fixed the hours and things like that. So it was more tactical. That was tactical. We weren't disagreeing there should be noise restrictions.
Right.
Your question of the timing of it.
What was your take on the noise restrictions? Because I'm excited about interviewing Piper Slowinski next week, who had, as far as I'm concerned, an excellent amendment to the noise bylaw. But like, what was that process like, and how did you feel at the end of it?
I felt we had to clean it up a little bit. I thought it was a little bit like ambiguous in some places. I listened to somebody say, "Well, I mow the lawn late at night because I get home late at night," and that was a legitimate concern. And then taking out, being in the mornings too, when people get up early and stuff like that. So I think you have to look into consideration of it. But having restrictions is necessary. People are going to abuse the laws, abuse the other people's rights. I mean, it always bothers me that That's just a human right. I mean, your neighbor right.
Yeah.
Why would you ride your lawnmower at 10:30 at night? So you have a neighbor. Or why would you have a leaf blower at 6:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
That's just not thinking. That's not being a respectful citizen to your neighborhood.
Exactly.
But that goes back to you've got to be better neighbors to each other. You got to know who lives next door. If the person next door has a little baby, you're not going to do that normally. I always say invite the people to the party. If you're going to have a big party, invite your neighbors.
Yeah.
That's the quickest way not to have any problems.
Yeah.
Invite them to it, and that works better that way.
Yeah. It was something I noticed when I was running for town meeting, was that I didn't know any of the other people in my precinct.
Mm-hmm.
I knew my nearby neighbors, but I didn't know. I think I still don't know where anybody else lives. I've never, run into them. We don't have like a precinct 6 meeting representatives party or something where we get to know each other. And it felt like, that's too bad. I feel like we should.
Yeah, I think it's outdated. We made it outdated.
Yeah.
I think in the old days we probably set that up. You knew everybody in the neighborhood.
Right. It was just assumed.
And if Bob had a problem about town meeting, hey, I want this passed, they talk to you. Because you can put something on Facebook. I'm precinct 8. What's your problems?
Yeah.
Oh, everything's okay. Whatever. I do it where I live because I live in a place with a lot of people. I ask them, what do you care about? Oh, and the town did this wrong.
Yeah.
Well, what's the solution? No, nothing. They never do that. The only reason I know the people at precinct is the pre-meetings where we get together. But we also get together to sign each other's signatures.
Right.
But I think I'm not a town meeting fan in that regard. I think it's kind of outdated in a way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that maybe we should have precinct people running a precinct, be the precinct head of it. So you have 8 counselors.
Yeah, I was interested. How does one become precinct captain or something? It seems like all they do is check people in and announce.
Yeah.
It's not like a big deal. I'm not angling for the position. I'm just interested in how it happens.
Get elected, so people stay forever doing it because it's convenient. It's not a lot of heavy lifting. You tell people to come to the meetings and all that. And
yeah.
Usually I think it's because people have done it for a long time. They keep doing it.
So, but I mean,
I don't think you don't run for it.
Right. Where does that happen? It's just at some point you get together with the other people.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we don't have one. We need one. Who's going to do it?
Yeah. I think that's more of it. It's like all those communities, municipal irrigation. I got that because you can do it. Want to do that? Yeah. But if I want to do the other ones, municipal operations, you could have done that, or whatever the committees they have. Yeah. Finance committee is the only one that seems that people angle sometimes to get on.
Interesting.
Because it's so important.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, whether it's government or some other organization, there's a really great degree to which the people running things / having the power are just the people willing to come to the meeting.
Yeah.
Right. They're the people who are willing to volunteer their time, and it does not necessarily take any special. You don't need to be an economist to be on the finance committee.
It'd be great though if you were.
It'd be great to have an economist on the finance committee, or an accountant for that matter. But the main qualification for most things is a willingness to come, a willingness to do that work.
That's why disability is so unique, because the people on the committee, the 4 people on the committee now, all work in disabilities or worked in disabilities at one time.
Oh,
but I think your argument of getting the economists is we have these people walking us out. We have every morning when people get on the train to go bus, it's a brain drain in the community. And then they come back and they live in the community. But we got to get more people involved, your age and younger, we give awards to people who've been on committees for 30 years and 40 years.
Yes.
And it's great that they do that. But at some point you need new blood and new ideas and things like that, because everybody says it the same way, do it this way, we did it that way.
Yeah.
But the problem is you can't really bash the people who are on there for 30 years because they're the ones stepping forward. They're the ones doing the thing. I mean,
that's the thing, is that there's not to go back to sports terms, not having a bench is a problem for everybody, right? It's not just a problem because you're not getting new ideas. It's also a problem because the people who have been very dedicated to making sure that something happens feel like they can't take a break. They can't retire from that work because there's nobody around who's willing to replace them and do that work.
Exactly. That's that is a big problem.
You don't want things to just collapse behind you, right? I am the program chair for ReaderCon, the Boston area literary conference on science fiction, fantasy, horror, and other speculative fiction. I was invited to be program co-chair, because someone who'd been doing it, or two someones who'd been doing it for a while, burnt out and didn't feel they could continue. They love the con, they love the people involved, but you can't do work that's exhausting forever. And I and another person were asked if we would be willing to do it, and my co-chair said, okay, how badly could we do this job and still be better than the next best alternative?
And that's not the great way to manage anything.
Which is, I mean, it's not a great way to manage anything, but it was an important question to ask in terms of, like, how badly do you need us? Right. Is this something where if we didn't say yes, the thing wouldn't happen and we wouldn't get to go? Right. Yeah, right. And that was the biggest motivation for both of us of volunteering our time, was that it was an event we loved to attend. We love attending this event. We'd been attending the event for some number of years, and we reached a point where it was like, well, if no one steps up and we're the someones, then it doesn't exist. And so, I've last year I was solo program chair. This year I'm solo program chair. But it's been an interest of mine to build a bench of people who might be able to take over if I decide that I should do something that's paid.
Exactly.
and
well, I have a good example of that. When I had my triple bypass my heart, I couldn't do a lot of things, and I was frustrated because I couldn't do all the stuff that I do.
Right.
I go, okay, what am I going to cut? Well, if I cut this, that hurts that. You know, if I cut this, hurts something I really care about. This doesn't. I don't really care about this.
Yeah.
And I just decided I'm going to do everything, still do everything, because the alternative cutting wasn't pleasant.
Right.
And it's not because they could live without me. Right. But I don't want to live. I don't want them to live without me. And it's kind of thing. I mean, I went to meetings in the hospital. I had a heart problem. All the stuff trapped on me. I still was going to meetings.
Oh no.
Yeah, no. And it was like, this isn't good. Where are you? But that was crazy.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes you get involved in so much that you don't want to let go of things.
But it's good to know yourself that it enough to say, I'm doing this more for me.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's good. Yeah. I frequently on this show make a plea to people to get involved. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how qualified you think you are. Mm-hmm. And it does matter how busy you are, but it doesn't matter as much as you think it does.
It's not that much of a commitment.
It's not that much of a commitment when you come down to it. The commitments that it is are mostly not during working hours. Mm-hmm. You can work your way around it. My first interviewee on this show has 3 children, and they're all young.
Yeah. Well, we need people like you and Rachel. So then we get out of the way. But we're not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
The older Stoughton is graying. That's why if you study the statistics of the town,
the whole country is.
Yeah, the whole country is. But you see in Stoughton where there's a huge amount of people 65 and older, and a huge amount of people under 10.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. What's going to happen when the 65 and older people can't do the job? Yeah. Where are the people going to go to? And that's why you've got to really look at town government and look where you can analyze it and what you can do without and what you can do with and where you can consolidate.
Yeah. One thing that interests me is I think in general, in town politics, in every town, in every city, with a possible exception of some true metropolises like New York, mm-hmm. Is that I think in town government in general, renters are severely underrepresented.
Exactly.
They're so underrepresented because there's this the feeling it is not just a bias against renters. Like some of it probably is,
There's a big bias towards
There's definitely a bias towards renters, but there's also just the fact that you often don't think to yourself, I should get involved in town politics when you don't know how long you're going to live in the town.
Right.
When you, when you're like, well, this is the apartment we can afford right now, right? But rents always go up everywhere. Maybe I'll be moving somewhere cheaper in 2 years, right? And so we don't have enough renters who really get involved. But there's also but the thing is that when you don't have enough renters in your town government, you have a town government that skews and has a bias towards property owners. And property owners are not only going to be primarily wealthier, primarily older, they're going to have a different set of politics.
Exactly.
That's
what happened, and then that's a problem. Because you said, we're not adapting quick enough to the situation. I look at it, we're on a train, and we're going to get to the end of the train tracks, and we're going to say, what the heck happened? Like, what did we do with climate? What did we do with renting? What did we do with building reasonable buildings, addressing the housing crisis? I'm a president of the courts, affordable housing concept. And I'm the treasurer. We have a 7-year waiting period to get it for affordable.
7 years.
That's criminal.
For affordable housing, and it's rent, right?
It's rent. You pay rent to it, but it's complicated, but it's a co-op.
Yeah.
But still, we have a 5-year waiting period for elderly housing.
Yeah.
And we don't do anything. We don't build it. We don't come with you don't come up with plans that are suitable for building it. And the first thing you say, everybody says, "Oh, I don't want them. I don't want these people." And that's not.
So that's the thing. Is that I feel like. Okay, I shouldn't be giving you political assignments.
No, it's okay.
But I feel like there is a lot of room for rental complexes like that to organize themselves politically to have more of a voice in the town government, because I don't know that every precinct necessarily has a large rental complex, but I feel like if any place that is complicated enough to have a president of the complex, like, should be sending multiple people to town meeting, to committees, so that we get more of a voice of the renter, because it's not, if you have a 7-year waiting period and then you get in, I'm guessing you're not eager to leave shortly thereafter. People stay forever. So if that makes you as much a permanent part of Stoughton as someone who bought a house here 2 years ago. You're not less of a Stoughton citizen if you're renting, and I feel like
in the case of that,
we need more of that.
We have 20% of our population 65 and older, and they've lived there for 30 years.
Yeah,
they're Stoughton people.
Yeah,
pure and simple. They're not. The kids go to school. It's where it is. Kids are very, very involved in school. That's what I try to stress to them. But the times in the past they've gone before the Board of Selectmen, they've got turned down.
Yeah.
And it's where I don't want to go because they're going to turn us down. We need help with this. They're going to turn us down. No, they won't turn you down. I promise. If I go to I will talk to the town manager. He talks to me. I would talk to the town manager, and we'll work on this.
Yeah.
And I just got a thing in my email about working with rentals for climate change recycling and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So I mentioned, it's funny you mentioned, because that is my project. You gave me my project. It is my project.
Yeah. Get that.
But I think we got to look at
organized.
We got to look at a whole. You want the people to rent here, right?
Yeah.
You want them to become citizens. Not citizens, but residents.
Yeah.
Residents.
Exactly.
Houses.
Yeah.
You want them to be involved. And that's the thing, we don't outreach enough. And I don't be negative about Stoughton, because I'm really positive about Stoughton. I live here. I live here. And I know the people. I love the people.
Yeah.
It's not. I think sometimes we have a complex about that.
Yeah.
We have a complex about welcoming people. We have a complex about change, and we have a complex about diversity.
Yeah.
Which we should be celebrating.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of my things that we do. I'm never going to get elected for office because I'm too progressive. But I know. But I mean,
you don't know until you try.
Yeah, I know. I know. I get 12 votes for town meeting. I'm realistic. But we got to look at diversity makes us stronger.
Absolutely.
Is our history.
Yeah.
And that's when people get up and talk about it. I go, well, who are you going to kick out?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
I mean, I was watching a show on this very network this morning. It was shortly before I came in for our interview, so I couldn't watch the whole thing. But they were discussing the urban renewal plan,
right,
and the fact that it calls for a bunch of the places in the town center that currently have just retail on a single floor, the urban renewal plan calls for a lot of those buildings to become multi-story buildings with retail on the first floor and either apartments or office space on the higher floors, which is a very common model. It's what they're doing with the building that used to be that giant hole in the town center, right? And it was talked about as if the idea was to get rid of those businesses and then replace them with too much housing. And it's like, first off, having places for people to live is a good thing. It's how you prevent the prices from skyrocketing. It's how you allow people who are younger or less wealthy to move into the town, which is good. You know, when you need new blood for things, when you need people with energy who aren't, of retirement age to get involved in getting stuff done in the town, you need it to be affordable. You know, you can't have every young person in town be a scion of some long-standing family or some wealthy family. You know, my parents live in Newton. We moved there when I was 12, and there were young people in Newton, but practically everybody's parents were doctors and lawyers and other very, very, somewhere they were somewhere on the range between top 10% and top 10th of a percent, right? It was basically all within that range, with the exception of a few people whose families had been there for generations. And it's fine for places like Newton to exist, but towns change over time, and there's a lot of people who are concerned about Stoughton becoming too urbanized, right?
We're here.
It's becoming too much of a city. Never mind the fact that sometimes this is dog whistles, but even when it's not, even when it is just talking about wanting the feel of what you had, it's like, well, becoming a Newton is not necessarily better than becoming a whatever, with a diverse population where you can move here without a six-figure salary. Both of those are valuable things. It is valuable to keep your idea of a town character, but it's character also involves what kind of people get to live here, and over time without expanding housing, you do change the character of your town. You change it from what it has been to something that no one with a normal job can afford.
With the urban thing, it's like putting the genie back in the bottle. It's out there. This is what we are. And I used those little teammates, because they're teammates and stuff, and I like them personally. I think that they have good ideas.
Yeah.
Everybody has a good idea. So that's the thing. The problem is when we get into the dog whistle part of it on both sides, we start fighting and stuff like that. The problem is they want Stoughton, where they went to the ice cream machine shop, rode their bikes there, and they went to the shoe store downstairs, and that's what they remember. And it's nostalgia. Nostalgia will hurt you more than help you in the long run. And I understand why they want that. I understand why they want to close, don't have to shut their doors, but also they were the kids during that time.
I have something to say about nostalgia, which is I'm 37. It's as political involvement goes, it's on the younger side. But it's also old enough that I am starting to see people of my generation talk about the era of our childhoods as if that was a simpler time, a less political time, a time where everything was okay. And I want to tell them, you guys, every generation thinks that about their childhood, and it's not because it was a simpler, better time. It's because you were a kid and your parents didn't talk to you about politics.
They were isolated.
It's like,
you're isolated.
Life was great when you were 9.
But
that's because you were 9. It's not because the things were better.
But you can have the ice cream shop back.
Yeah.
But it's got to be under a modern way. You can't do that. I mean, the alternatives look at buildings unfilled
Yeah.
and are decaying. Do you want that? Is that an alternative? Is that your alternative? But I think we got to get over the urban. I understand the urban thing, but statistically, we are an urban with 30,000 people. That's not including people who don't come and go and all that.
Yeah.
You got to look at it that way. We're not a small town.
Yeah.
We have big town problems. We have big town solutions. We have big town everything. We got to get out of this mindset that everything was better in the 1960s.
Right. The other thing is when you give away the opportunity for your town and your region to grow, you are literally giving away your political power.
Yeah.
You are saying, you know, Massachusetts is dropping electoral votes. We're dropping, you know, and it absolutely has to do with the price of housing, right? It absolutely has to do with the lack of affordable housing. It's because there are tons of people who want to live here, and the subset of them who can afford to is just not that high.
Yeah.
You know, people come here from other countries, from other states in order to get educated. They fall in love with Massachusetts, and then they have to move away.
But why don't we celebrate that?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best things I did in my life was help people register to vote.
Yeah.
I invite everybody to do that because you really see America differently. They're coming here for a chance. They're coming from places where they don't have a chance, and they work hard and they celebrate the thing. They want the things you have. They're not going to take it away from you. Right. They want the things you have. And I think the thing is, we look at it, they don't want to take it away from you.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what they want. They want the same things you have, and they're willing to work for it.
And there is a difference between someone wanting to live in your town and moving into a new apartment, and someone wanting to live in your town so they murder you and take your house, right? And we can't treat the people who want to move here into a new apartment as if they were here to murder us and steal our houses. Like, it's not the same thing.
No, it isn't. But it gets that way because of, social media and things like that. People take over it. And you can understand where once you understand where they're coming from, it makes life a lot easier. Because you know where they're coming from. The thing is, we've got to move forward. We have a really good opportunity to move forward. Sharon's not going to change. Camden's got their own problem. They're not going to change. Physically, they're not going to. They're what you're talking about. They're on the wealthy side. Easton's not going to change. Yeah. So why don't we become the dominant city, town, whatever you want to call it, in that area? But we've got to make changes to do that. And the biggest thing is we've got to stop knocking each other. But, there's a sport here, kicking each other in the shins. Yeah. And after a while, you say, why do I live here?
Oh, you're a sports writer.
Yeah, I know.
Tell us all about the sport of kicking each other in the shins.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's like. You don't, people buy $5,000, $100,000 houses here.
Yeah.
I work with real estate people. Do you know people in Stoughton moving? Because they know they can fill the house in 2 weeks. Something people know about us that we don't know.
Yeah.
And we don't understand. Joe Bayada, the superintendent, talked about the growing population. Yeah. Tom Coulter preaches that all the time. Yeah. Things are changing, and don't think there's going to be, you can't go back. Yeah. They're going to move people out of town. Who are you going to go out of town? Yeah. Well, I don't like you. You're going out of town. So we get to 15,000 people. Yeah. You can't do that.
And you can change the laws to be more similar to the laws of, the 1960s or whatever, but you can't go back to being 10.
No, you can't. No, we need diversity.
So it's not, it's not going to get you where you want to go. If where you want to go is being 10 again, I'm sorry, that's not.
We've changed. We've elected
in the cards.
We elected a black select person, Deborah Roberts. I was proud to be her, work on her campaign and guide her through it. And we have diversity and inclusion.
Tamika Civil was on for a while too.
No, she was
on the government.
No, she was on the governance council.
Oh, what was she on before?
She was on volunteering things.
Oh, she was just.
Well, we just elected her. Yeah, I mean, we elected. They're both are good friends of mine, but we need that. We need to celebrate ourselves. Yeah, I think a giant picnic would be a great idea. In somewhere in the town, so people get to know each other. Yeah, because we don't know each other, we don't talk to each other. Yeah, and and the people on shows that get on and talk about their views and all that. What they want to do is they're not wrong. Yeah, they're not wrong with what they're doing. They're passionate what they're doing, but you look to see if it works. Yeah, if you have different ideas, usually somewhere in the middle is the solution. Yeah, we got to see that more. We've got to decide what we're going to do. It can't be mom and pop kettle. It's an old reference. Okay. Running government. We do old ways, and it prevents us from doing stuff. When I was working for a candidate running for state rep, I had to go to select board meetings and town council. And I went to Randolph, and it was during our town meeting, and they bought a truck. Actually, that's a whole night episode is town meeting.
Yeah.
And they bought the truck. They signed off on it. The truck was on the street. I go, this is much more efficient. It's not a question of giving. I know people in town meeting don't want to give up their rights.
Yeah.
I understand that. But at some point, is it efficient to wait 8 months to buy something?
Yeah.
Is it efficient? Some of the stuff we can take. Is it efficient for us to meet 3 nights, 6 nights, 6 town meetings?
Yeah.
At the cost of all those people, the town managers there, all these people getting paid.
Yeah.
This is their time.
So you are actually in favor of changing our form of government, admitting we're a city, and
very unpopular. Very unpopular.
Yeah. I mean, that's brave.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I agree, because I have enjoyed my short foray into town government, and I think part of it is that I'm only just starting to understand how it works, and it'll be very annoying if I figure out how it works just in time for it to change. But I think it's an interesting and worthwhile perspective, and so sell me on it. Sell me what's great about being a city.
The efficiency of it. We be able to have more. We get the urban rural plan that gives you more money. And I work volunteer at the White House, so I know how that works.
Yeah.
And they want cities like that too. Your previous administration was really pushing that, so it gives them more flexibility. Select board really is 5 people with 5 different opinions, and they meet one. Sure. They're running $1 billion company.
Yeah.
And would you do that? Would you have? They're all friends of mine. They're great people, and they work hard and appreciate all the time they volunteer. But would you run a company that way?
I mean, I've never run a company, so I don't know.
No, but you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't run them. You wouldn't. We spend so much money.
Yeah.
And they say, well, corruption if you had a mayor and city council. No.
I mean, you can have corruption in any form. Corruption is a big deal issue, and it is a big deal issue everywhere. But I relate corruption on the local level to the existence or lack of local journalism.
Exactly.
If you don't have people who are reporting on what is happening and what it means and who is doing it, if you don't have it to a great degree the bravery that you had as a journalist to say, yes, people are going to write angry things about me, but and they're going to be my neighbors getting angry at me, but I still need to report out what happened. Without that local journalism, anybody in town government can get some friends together and give sweetheart deals. Anybody can do the kind of corruption that people are worried about in a city. It doesn't. You don't need to be the mayor in order to funnel town money towards your friends and your pet project. You just need influence. And since in town government, all you need for influence is mostly to show up. Right. If we want less corruption, great. Let's talk about our local journalism infrastructure, right? Because having watchdogs who will absolutely publicize the bad things you're doing, like that will disincentivize people to act in corrupt ways. But I don't see it mattering whether you have a select board or a town council or
that's one of the arguments of it. I don't see that happening. Yeah. And the mayor, like if you look at cities that have mayor, the mayor is really a cheerleader for the city too. They bring business. They're the face.
Yeah.
And we're asking the select board to be the face. Well, they've worked full-time jobs.
And there's 5 of them.
It's a
hydra.
And whoever is the face gets criticized because they're hogging the space.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with that, is that when we run more efficiently, we have different offices and things like that. And you have the 8 you keep the precincts. You have 8 precinct members and 1 at-large person. Yeah. So you vote, 1 person vote for one of us out of the 12. The 20 that show up, maybe 20, 18 that show up. 1 would be the representative. Right. But your point is people would know who to go to.
Yeah.
And that would be a problem with that too. They would know. That's why you see it in Randolph. The precinct people, they're the precinct. They go to the stores opening. Yeah. Because in their precinct.
Yeah.
And they go to stuff in their precinct.
Yeah.
Well, these guys, it's a scattershot.
Yeah.
And that we've taken away a strong town manager. We've taken away a lot of the responsibilities select board would have in the past.
Right.
And the same with schools. School committees have really changed.
Right. And so to a great degree with a town manager, what we're doing, and I have no criticisms for Tom Coulter. Just with the position of town manager, what we have is a sort of a quasi-mayor without him having to be elected, right?
Exactly.
We have a position that functions like an executive, that performs a whole lot of those executive decision-making functions that we're so scared that a mayor would do, except we don't get to choose who that person is.
Right.
It's, I assume, the select board that chooses the town manager.
Exactly.
And they sign a contract with them, and that's going to last for a while, and then they need to renew or not renew. And we have had an issue with town managers in the past who didn't do a good job, and we had no way of getting rid of them without convincing the select board to do it when
the other thing too is
an election would have been.
An election could change the board. The danger with not having journalism, which I appreciate you saying that as a journalism person, but the danger of not having that is we have low vote totals too. It doesn't, I don't want to give out the secrets because I work on campaigns and stuff. I worked on the Harris Biden campaign and things like that, and I work with a good party organization and people out there. So the elections would be easy to fix in a situation that we have, because you only have to get 1,200 to 1,400 people to vote for you.
Yeah,
and you're going to get your friends.
Yeah,
and you're going to get the people to vote.
That doesn't sound like election fixing exactly.
No, it's election.
It's easy to win an election.
What you do is you look
by doing
right. You look at
campaign stuff.
Right, but they don't have to campaign anymore.
Yeah.
If no one runs, so you don't have to campaign, which is the worst case scenario. But if you look at the people that vote 5 times in 5 years, those are the people to go to.
Yeah,
and that's the stat of it. You target people. It's target election. Like people say, you run for an election. People I work with consult. I want to get more people that are not vote. Well, that's like going down a rabbit hole. If they're not voting for a reason.
Yeah, right. And good luck.
Good luck.
It's a great strategy if you can pull it off, but that's
it doesn't work.
that's like going into Hearts or whatever and saying, I'm going to shoot the moon just every time.
Right.
Exactly. Okay.
Exactly.
Good luck.
But then we can move forward with a lot of things we have to move forward to. Elections are like who who I sat next to in the 3rd grade, at the Wilkins School or something. That's what it comes down to. And the popularity contest, and people they run, but the majority of the people in town don't know who they are. And that goes back to local journalism.
The odd thing was I was surprised that, first off, I wish we didn't do all of our town communication on Facebook, because it's not, for one thing, it's owned by a private company, and it's weird to outsource your town square to someone trying to make money off of it. But nonetheless, things being what they are, when I decided to run for town meeting rep, I got on the ballot, and I was like, great, well, I should introduce myself. I should tell people who I am. Who is this guy whose name will appear on the ballot? So I did, and I was disappointed at how few people also did that. Right. I thought, I was kind of hoping that, like, if I set a good example, like maybe some other people that I don't know would introduce themselves, and nothing. No. There was like,
well, where's the journal? Couldn't be involved.
But a lot of it is also just the fact that it's Facebook. That it's not happening, that we don't have some other well-known place that everybody goes to. Because the thing is that, like, it wasn't everybody's fault that they weren't, responding to my introduction with their own introductions, because a solid, like, half to 3/4 of the town meeting reps in my precinct aren't even on Facebook.
Exactly.
Or if they are, they're on it like once a month or something. They're not, active. So it's, we kind of need a public square that has more participation. And
but I think
local journalism can be part of it.
Yeah, I think it can be part of it. But the problem with local journalism is that I get asked this every week to start a journalism site. What website for Stoughton News.
Yeah.
And I know what the cost is. The cost is really prohibitive.
It's prohibitive.
It would cost a lot to get started because you need the equipment and all that.
And for that, you need people to be willing to subscribe for real money.
And the towns that it work in have benefactors. And the problem with the businesses, after running 3 publications in Stoughton, the problem would be getting a business support. it's just not there.
Yeah.
There's not the buy-in to it. So you'd have to create it. You'd have to create it so you got the buy-in, and you'd fight the thing about being a cheerleader too for the town. You did the balance of reporting everything.
Yeah.
And realistically, nobody watches select board meetings.
Yeah.
We did a study when I was at Patch, like what people watched.
Yeah.
And the hardcore journalists went into depression because they'd sat in, planning board meetings and time in finance meetings and realized that maybe 2 or 3 people cared.
Yeah.
But what Steve Cavey and Deborah Roberts do is the brief after the meeting.
Yes.
That's the kind of things you can do.
So valuable.
What you do with town meeting.
I tried to do that with town meeting because it felt like you shouldn't have to watch, what was that, like 9 hours
you can't
of footage in order to know just the basics of what happened. Right. And the basics of what happens are mostly like we voted yes for a bunch of housekeeping stuff that any town needs to do. And then there were like 4 issues that we fought over. Right? So it's you're not going to hear those 4 issues if you have to sift through 9 hours to get there.
No, I mean, it's hard to do that. It's hard for us to sit there for 9 hours.
Yeah.
It's productive. It'd be productive.
Yeah.
I guess how many people watching the Celtics game on, whether at town meeting.
Right.
That's what I argue about town meeting is that we're there because we have a duty and most of us take it, I think most people take it seriously. But there's other people who open the book the night they get there because they're busy.
Okay. So we are out of time, and I've forgotten to even ask you my favorite question.
Oh, I wanted to ask that.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep going, and then I will leave it to the fine and wonderful people at SMAC to decide which part of our earlier conversation they're going to cut in order to keep this question and your answer, okay? So I would like to ask, what is your rant? If you are out, we're hanging out late at night. I don't know if you're a drinker. If you are, you've had a drink, and you rant to me about the thing that's bothering you about politics. Let's hear it.
The way we look, the negativity of it. Okay. Not people complaining, because that's okay, but the negativity of it. Like there was a post the other day about a woman moving to Stoughton.
Okay.
And his Facebook, she's happy, she's excited about moving. Don't move here. That's not helpful to people. It's not helpful to her either. But that's my other pet peeve. My other pet peeve is that people go in a direction, but they have no solutions. Like in the school issue, there was no alternative solution. It was just the same. So my pet peeve is if you're going to put all that work into it, have a solution. Don't just come with a complaint, come with a solution. And I think we got to do that. And we got to start, like I said before, we got to stop beating each other up.
Yeah. All
over the place. Paul, people are scared to run for office because they're going to get beat up. That shouldn't happen. They don't want to do that. So that's one of my many rants is that we just got to decide that we grow up. Yeah. And just realize that we've got to move forward. And there's a reason why we have committees, the climate change is real.
Yeah.
It's happening. We have these.
We're feeling it.
Feeling it.
Summer and every summer, every winter.
Don't ignore things.
Yeah.
And don't go back to the 1960s. I'll promise you, if you fix Stoughton Center, you will have a bookstore, you will have an ice cream shop, you will have multiple coffee shops, because they can exist multiply. People should take a ride to Taunton. Taunton did the same thing Stoughton did.
Yeah.
And just see what they've done.
Yeah.
And they've done it. So just steal from people. Go to a place like Natick that's similar in size.
But don't murder them and steal their house.
No, steal their house. But learn from the people there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mike Hardman, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll talk to you again.
I'm sure we will. Thank you.
Come on.